2023, and I'm calling the regular Belle Plaine City Council meeting into session. Should be noted those in attendance are Councilperson Peck, Councilperson Schlossman, Councilperson Morrow, Councilperson Malcolm, Councilperson Landit, and Councilperson City Administrator Steve Beck, City Attorney Jennifer Zrodnik's here, the Mayor's here, City Clerk Sandy Walton's here. I'd like to remind all in attendance, including the council and staff, to please shut off your cell phones or put them on the mute mode. Before I go to the third item, agenda item number 10, discussing proposal Belle Plaine Community Development exiting Main Street has been withdrawn. It will not be on the agenda. Item D, under nuisance abatement property, 1510 Fifth Avenue has been taken off that list. You've been given an updated delinquent pet license list that you will need. You were given a copy of a series of emails I've had with the Beck neighbors concerning wanting an extension on the fence, and you were given a copy of the EasyCog final report or yearly report, which is not near as good as when Belle Plaine appeared on the front, but as opposed to this one. That being said, let's go to agenda item number 3, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Put flag in the back. There you go.
Okay, move to agenda item number 4, approval of the consent agenda, council minutes of April 19th, 2023, receiving and filing of minutes from the April 18th, 2023 Belle Plaine Community Library Board of Trustees meeting, and bills received, and I think you received an updated list of bills from the clerk's office. Questions, comments, additions, mistakes? All those being unacceptable, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda, council minutes of April 19th, receiving and filing of minutes from the April 18th Library Board of Trustees meeting, and bills received.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. The last chance for any discussion on it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5 is resident comments. If you're on the agenda tonight, then we will wait and take your comments at that point in time. If you're not, you're a Belle Plaine resident, would like to make a comment on tonight's agenda or future agenda items, please come to the podium, state your name and address so we can get it in the minutes correctly. Please address all comments to the entire city council. This is not a time to address individuals on the council or time for a debate. Please address the council with respect and courtesy. To the council, this is a time for you to listen to the ideas and information our residents are bringing to our attention. I also remind the council this is not a time for a debate. Please make all questions to citizens as informational in nature as possible. And I remind the council to please address the public with the respect and courtesy that all Belle Plaine residents deserve. That being said, is there anyone who wants to come to the podium tonight? Okay.
I thought you were reading the crowd wrong. I said, I don't.
I'll learn. Okay, agenda item number 6. I'm now opening the public hearing to take bids on the property at 1402 Fifth Avenue, Belle Plaine, Iowa. Opening bid of $5,000 is required. So note that the public hearing was open at 6:35 p.m. and I'm looking for a bid of $5,000. So if you're in the bidding stand, give me your bid, give me your name.
Can I make just one small, you said Fifth Avenue, it's Second Avenue.
It's second half.
Okay, that's all right.
got
These,
one
these
question.
guys got nervous. I think they thought, what are we getting?
I wasn't nervous. I got one question before I give him my bid. Is that property lien of all debt and they don't liens against it or anything?
Not aware of any that are against it.
Not aware of anyone.
Okay, just wanna make sure. I'll give you
No,
a
you're
bid.
not buying a trap.
Huh?
You're not buying a money trap.
Well, I just wanna make sure they ain't a $5,000-6,000 lien against it. I get
Not-
stuck with.
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'll give you a bid of 5,000, Dover meets.
Okay, we have a bid of $5,000. Anybody give me a bid of $5,500? Come on, somebody. It's not as fun as selling those lockers and stuff.
It's not like weed is auction.
I gotta wait another 30 or 40 seconds before we close the bid.
Is the lot next to it part of it, or is it just the house?
Well, talk to them. They might sell you something.
It's an empty lot, yeah.
It's an empty lot. It
Okay.
used to have a house on it. You can blame Jay. He took the house off.
Fine job.
Thank Jay or blame
I think.
Okay,
him?
yes. I thought I heard something.
Oh, no, she was just saying, we'll get the next one.
There'll be more.
I'm gonna close the public hearing at 6:37 PM. And we're going to accept Mr. Meek's bid of $5,000 for that lot. So we will go to the resolution 230501, which is the property description for that lot, and we'll officially accept his bid with approval of this resolution. Any questions, council?
I need to know how you want the name of the title.
Both of our meets.
Delbert
And
and
Bonnie.
Bonnie Meeks.
Middle initial.
His is W and mine is S.
You want to confirm Bonnie, the spelling on that?
BONNIE. You mean it hasn't changed in 50 years? Almost 59.
All right, council, we have resolution 230501, which will completely get rid of this lot, get it to the people who can do something positive with it. And actually, we sold another lot for $5,000. That beats the old days when we were selling them for 10.
Not thousand.
Yeah.
You need a motion?
I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-0501, authorizes final disposition of real estate at 1402 Second Avenue.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, council? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That lot will become theirs and of the resolution. Oh, that's right. Agenda, item 6,
Okay.
but item 6 on the resolution says to earn money of $500 to be paid to Cole Morgan Schlues Rodnick Trust account within 24 hours of passage of this resolution to approve the sale.
We just want to pay the whole amount.
Well, we won't know what the full amount is until we get the publication costs and those types of things, so.
Cole Morgan and Schlu,
KSC.
KFC.
Anything else? Okay, folks, that one's out of our hair.
Said 500.
Okay. Outstanding. Go to agenda item number 7, open public hearing concerning municipal infractions of chapter 56 of the Belle Plaine City Code that deals with delinquent dog and cat licenses that are past due. Motion to turn them over to, turn these delinquent cat dog licenses over to the Belle Plaine Police Department for processing. You have a new list out there, so it's come down some, but not considerably.
And we had 5 people come in since Friday.
Questions, council? Comments?
We've all had ample time to take care of it.
I'll open the public hearing for this at 6:41 p.m. Anybody that owns any of these cats here, make a comment, cats or dogs. God, I hate opening a public hearing at 6:41 and closing it at 6:41. Hang on, folks, we're going another 30 seconds. Looks better in minutes.
You can always move the next one.
It's hanging. They'll do it for a long time now. Maybe not.
It's down to 10 seconds.
Like some of the
Okay, public hearing's closed. Council, the next appropriate thing would be to give me a motion to send these to the police department for processing.
I move to send delinquent cat licenses to the police department for processing.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right. Get rid of that one. Let's go to discuss where possible action on failed nuisance abatements. The first one is property at 1003 6th Avenue. The city administrator received a text message tonight or an email asking for a 30-day extension.
Correct.
Which
The property owner was going on an ambulance call. Can't make it.
there's supposed to be a written note to the council.
I think we do an extension.
Okay,
Question.
Mhm.
When I looked at this, it says the notice to abate was sent out on 4/5, and then a subsequent letter was sent out on 4/20. Because the first letter says you've got 10 days to request a hearing or request additional time. And it says nothing was done, and therefore you need to now appear before the city council. I just want to make sure you guys are in what you're doing.
make it in the form of a motion.
I make a motion to give him a 30-day extension.
Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Dies for lack of second. Discussion, council, do you want to proceed with this through the police department to process this? Okay, help me here. You gotta
I
either-
think it's important that we do what we said we would do in the letter that was sent out April 20th.
Otherwise, I think we're setting a new precedent, so.
Okay,
If there were extenuating circumstances, we would consider those, but it doesn't really appear that there are.
well, if he was planning to be here and he's on an ambulance call,
But he did do it within 10 days.
Because the process that's set out by code says, you know, once you're served with the initial notice to abate the nuisance, you have 10 days to either correct it or request a hearing and appeal it with the city council. And he didn't do that apparently because it's not in the packet. And then we sent out a letter on the 20th, Chris did, that says you failed to do it within the time frame and you didn't request a hearing with the council and therefore but that's considered the proof that there's a nuisance that exists. And, we're gonna decide what we're gonna do from there at today's meeting.
Okay. So give me a motion to turn this over to the police department for processing.
I move to turn this nuisance situation at 1003 6th Avenue over to the police department.
Is there a second?
I second.
Been moved and second. Discussion. Hearing nothing. Bring it to a vote. All in favor of sending this to the police department, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
On a 4-1 vote, motion carries. That goes to the police department. 1902 10th Avenue. Is there anyone from this property here tonight? Well, same choice, folks. I've heard nothing from them. There was nothing written sent to me or sent to you guys. The chief went and looked at this property this afternoon and said nothing had been done. So again, if there's no extension to be granted, then give me a motion to send this to the police department. Okay, somebody comment.
I'm reading the notes here. Sorry.
Supposed to do that before you get here. Your
Yeah.
homework was outside class, not in class.
I'm sorry, I'm still working. I have a real job, so I have to do it while I'm here. Sorry to waste the time. I know. It's been a while since you've done that. It feels good. I make a motion to have a nuisance abatement for 1902 10th Avenue sent to the police for further process.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now, 622 7th Avenue, the chief told me this afternoon, 99% of this has been cleared up. He said there's not enough there to prosecute 1%, so let it go. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, they cleaned up a lot. I mean, it's not been that long ago that there were a lot of things out in the driveway. Just
Oh, I know where this one's at. The old musty property.
Yeah.
Okay, then that one, I'm gonna tell the chief it's done. And the last one we took off, because it's done. Okay, that one is complete. Thank you, council. For the proposal. Okay. Let's go to agenda item number 9, proposal from Darren Renderconnect to purchase 1502 6th Avenue, a current nuisance property. Would you like to come forward?
Papers, if everybody wants to take a second.
Got pictures.
Sorry, more homework.
There, Mitch, read quick.
Should have
Mostly,
started it over
mostly
here.
pictures.
It is.
He's a speed reader.
I just get more stuff.
So this is just the email that we had sent out, the front page.
Yeah,
Just kind of going over what we had said about.
yeah. Our plan there is, we're gonna convert it back to a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom property. And it's pretty much down to the studs, as you guys all probably know, so it gets new everything. We rewire them, replumb them, new kitchens, baths, floor covering, vinyl siding, windows, you name it, it gets the whole deal on this one. We farm and do construction on the side, so we kind of use this as fill-in work. But you can see there, 428 Avenue, Atkins was a house we did. This one was a derecho damaged house. We should have gotten some before pictures, but the roof was gone, blew it apart, the windows were gone. So it was a total remodel throughout the entire house. And then 8th Avenue in Benton is a similar property. We took that down to the studs. It wasn't a derecho damage one, it was in the state. It hadn't been touched probably in 50 years. And then last one is 107 Cherry Street. That was a new house we built in Van Horn. And that's just some of the work we can do.
It's like what to expect from a house, like
Yeah.
different things that we do. And then the last page is our timeline on what we expect to do once the house is purchased.
Like we're trying to close on May 19th. If we can get a dismissal of the lawsuit against it. In June, we plan on having the exterior kind of wrapped up. So at least from the street, it looks a lot better. And then July through August, we're kind of dedicating that time to our subcontractors, plumbers, electricians, drywallers. And we hope to have it done by September. Normally we move a little faster on these, but we're building 2 homes in Newhall right now. So our schedule's kind of full and we farm. But that's kind of just a ballpark estimate of how long we think it'll take us to get through this one without any issues. And I was going through the email that you guys had on the nuisance report. And our plan is to resheet the exterior of the home. Then we work with a pretty good company that does foundation repair. And all their work comes with a lifetime transferable guarantee. So anyone that buys a house has a lifetime guarantee on the work done. So a foundation that shifts or settles, it'll never, they can pull it back sometimes. But regardless of what they do, it comes with a lifetime guarantee on the work. And that was the major one. Everything else was just kind of cosmetic and bringing it back up to what it could be.
Questions, council?
It's very positive.
It's a good idea, what you guys are doing.
Yeah, this will be the 15th home we've done. 16th home now.
As far as remodel?
Yeah, remodel,
Remodel,
yeah.
Counting new
yep.
construction.
Not
Not counting new construction, no.
And that's just in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's just the last 5 years. We're pretty familiar with this process. That home there is actually in a good position for us, being as demoed as far along as it is. And we'll make quick work of that.
That did have somewhat of a new roof on it.
Yeah, it seems to be, yeah. We'll get up there and we'll make sure, and all of our homes get inspected when we're done by anybody that buys them. And we got a 1-year warranty and with it on top of that.
Well, I think it looks like a good deal for us, a good deal for you guys, and a good deal on the city of Belle Plaine.
Yep.
And that is what we like to see some of these properties do, is just tear them all down. So is there a proposal to drop the current nuisance?
I'll make a motion to drop current nuisance on 1502 6th Avenue in Belle Plaine for Randall Connect to purchase and rehab.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Have at it.
If you have more, send them our way.
All right.
Stay in touch.
We have a couple actually already.
Okay, agenda item number 10 has been removed. Let's go to number 11. Yeah, I gave you those emails concerning that. discuss an extension request from Austin and Megan Beck on the requirement for them to install a fence as an agreement for them to keep their dog, and it was supposed to be done by May 1st. The neighbors, as you can see in this series of emails, are not happy. And in the section I gave you, yes, there was, I have to talk with the chief again, but my understanding on quote, the violation that she talked about in here that they had submitted video. My understanding from the police department, the video was they're not able to use it. It pretty much showed nothing. I'll have to go back to the chief and see what happened when she made a complaint to us and said she had a video. I said, here's the chief's contact me how he wants to handle the video. And I had heard nothing back from them. And so I just assumed when I talked with the chief, and this was several months ago, he said the video was unusable, so we couldn't really do anything. So it's up to you guys. There's no fence up there. I told her, and as I said, this council has been fairly generous in granting extensions, but I can't tell you whether they will or whether they won't. So I guess it's up to you guys. You want to give an extension? If you do, how long? Or do you want the dog ordered out of Belle Plaine or whatever the chief has to make the next move? My thoughts are give them until June 1st, and if it's not done, then proceed with the problem with the dog.
When were they originally?
Supposed to be May 1st.
I know, but was that a 30-day or 60-day?
No.
It was a.
You gave them until May 1st to have it done, and this all started back, I want to say, November or October.
I think November.
Yeah.
November.
But we recognized trying to put a fence up
I realized that.
there was not going to be.
Have there been any other issues like, for example, they were supposed to have it on a leash and a harness? I mean, has there been anything?
Only this one, only this one that she talks about in here, in the flip side, where she talks about, where's it at? However, she only made one complaint on that, and supposedly in operable video that for our police to identify. And I told the police department, drive by there, but you can't have a police car sitting on A Avenue 24/7. So I will have a conversation with the chief about whatever happened with the video, and did he ever make contact back with the residents? But that's the only known incident that I know.
Well, I walk past these residents, both houses, frequently, and Beck's have not been in violation, but there is a citizen down there who would be in violation. But it's not Beck's.
The dog problem?
Mhm.
No.
Lets their dog run loose.
Yes.
I'm not gonna bring up a name, but I think I know who.
I think we should table this until we get a little more information from the chief.
Well, I do think we need to take action on this because they failed the nuisance complaint to complete the fence by May 1st. That part, no matter whether they're following the rest of this, we need to act on that. Either tell them, no, you missed the date to complete this, or give them a new completion and say, we will not change. I understand. I can thoroughly sit down with the chief tomorrow and find out if we ever did a follow-up. My understanding from the chief was the video was no good and he was to get back to her and let her know that. That they could barely identify there was a dog in the video, let alone what harness he was wearing.
Do we know how long the husband had been gone for annual training? I have no idea. Is annual training 2 weeks a month? I don't know.
That I don't know either.
The problem is that this dog actually wasn't just a vicious dog. This dog actually attacked, right? Wasn't there injuries involved?
with,
They're saying.
Yeah, but the debate was also whether Jacoby's dog was loose and not on a leash either.
The email says he was back on the 28th of April.
That's, but we don't know how long he had been gone.
Are they planning on putting up the fence themselves, I guess, because it can't be done while, you know, it couldn't be done because he was out of town. It's not that they contracted with anybody, right?
That's my understanding.
I have to ask the city administrator who took all this information.
Okay.
I'd say we give them an extension.
Is June 1st acceptable?
June 1st.
That's very reasonable.
Put it in motion.
I'll make a motion to give Bex, extension, put up the fence until June 1st, 2023.
I would put a caveat with that the dog must be harnessed or muzzled at all times when it's outside. I mean, that's the stipulation that was supposed to be on the original complaint, correct?
Will you accept the caveat?
I will accept the
Oh, friendly.
Thank you, friendly amendment.
And how about stating that there's gonna be no further extensions?
Will you accept that friendly amendment?
I'll accept that.
Any further, anyone else want to throw a caveat onto it? It's a secondary factor. Is there a second to this proposal and its amendments?
Extension to June 1st, dog harness or muzzle at all times and no additional extension.
Is there a second to this proposal?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Do you want to contact them tomorrow what that was passed by the council? And I will get meet with the chief tomorrow over this supposed video that's out there, and I'll see what happened to that investigation.
Thank you.
I knew there was a reason I was supposed to have the chief here tonight. Okay, agenda item number 12, discuss for possible approval of business incentive grant, commercial exterior grant for spotlight videos at 727 12th Street. Questions? Anything you want to say, Steve?
On the quote page, there are some industry terms on there that weren't immediately clear, or I didn't think would be clear to the council. So I had Christine add in some language into her description, because this, after I talked to her about the scope of the project, it seemed like it was going to be a significant roofing project with the front parapet wall and the side parapet wall, as well as tying into the side of an existing building on their party wall, and then finishing off the rear end where the drainage comes down and revamping the stormwater, the way it shoots out the back.
What's the total cost on this project?
38,000.
Meet the threshold.
There's a limit on roofing projects. I think it's 2,000.
They can only apply for 2,000.
I believe so, because it's a roofing. I thought the application was in here. The front part of that.
There's a limit on roofing.
Is the thing down on the wall, like people grab it?
Yeah, sure. Well, the mayor might have one too.
I have one right here.
Jennifer? Okay, I'm gonna grab one.
Exterior,
Exterior, and I went through this. I didn't think there was a limit on roofing. That I saw. I was looking to see if roofing was acceptable.
Is that our latest revised form that we did a couple of years ago that you're looking at?
One that was in the office to hand to the next person who walks in.
yeah, I'm not trying to short her or anything. The application that she used had that language in there, and just wanted to thank you, Jennifer, for helping.
That's facade. That's awning. Eligible improvements. Says roof improvements are not covered unless part of a comprehensive reconstruction project, which I assume this would be labeled as a comprehensive reconstruction project. I'm not this is that.
We might have changed that.
Yeah.
I thought we had a discussion on.
Perhaps we could just say the maximum amount allowed by the exterior grant, and then I'll clarify that with Sandy tomorrow. Is that
We had a
permissible?
discussion on this quite a while ago.
You'd have to show me in here where it says roofing is limited to $2,000, because I can't find it. Because I went back to look, because at one time you could not get a grant on roofing,
Right.
but we can do it that way if you can find a place to prove it. Otherwise, she's gonna get her maximum of 4,500.
Which is fine with me. I don't have any issue with either way.
And I guess I'm looking at, it's another older building on Main Street that you put a good roof on it. Now we've got a solid business area.
I think that's what we discussed was the 45. I remember doing that on the community.
Well, give me a motion approving it to the allowable amount as per our grant, and Steve and Sandy can look, but I think it's gonna end up $4,500. So how about somebody firing a motion here?
I move to approve a business incentive grant, commercial exterior grant for Spotlight Studios at 727 12th Street. Subject to the maximum allowable for roofs.
Good motion. Second,
Oh, second.
been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
The only thing that I want to bring up is that we might need to clarify the status of Spotlight Studios as a member and non-member of BPCDC currently. That does not have anything to do necessarily with the council approving, but that is something that we need to make sure that we are aware of whenever we have one of these applications coming in, what the current status is.
Couldn't she
She
check
said
that?
he was.
She did,
Yeah.
but there's some question, and we're looking into it with Ashley.
Yes,
So,
and I am waiting to hear back from her.
Yeah.
So,
okay. as things go from year to year and, you know, we're in the beginning of an investment drive for this year and we just have to catch up with everything, so.
So you'll have to find out whether she's telling the truth or not telling the truth.
No, that's not what I'm questioning at all. It's just- we just have to make sure that when somebody applies for this grant, that the fee that they pay is appropriate for being a member or non-member. That's all.
Well, and we base it on whether what they check here, and
Mhm.
Belle Plaine Development's supposed to have that done for the city council when this comes to it.
And this is the second time this has happened, so we'll follow up with it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discuss for possible approval of business incentive grant, commercial interior grant for the deranged haunted attraction at 102 8th Street, Belle Plaine. I do see one of the owners back there. Do you want to say anything before they start digging into it?
Dig away.
This one's pretty straightforward. So they qualify for the full amount.
You'll see a list of materials. Basically, they're gonna be building walls inside, running electrical, running some plumbing, putting up walls.
Just gonna make it so they can scare you more and more.
I'd really like to see all your faces down there this year. I don't know if I really see all of your.
I sent my kid with mine.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I just looked the date up that I had bypass surgery after a heart attack. You think you're gonna get me to go through some haunted house without having a live gun on my possession? You're kidding.
At my age, I
Sorry,
feared
Bubba.
death. TMI, sorry.
I drive by and check your parking lot every weekend. You're open to see, cheer you on, but I'm not going through that thing, even in the daylight.
Screens up on my side of town.
Okay, do we have a motion or questions?
I make a motion to approve business incentive grant for deranged haunted attraction at 102 8th Street.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I only have one thing. On these applications, can we get current forms to them? This one has Rachel Montgomery as our executive director.
We don't know how he got that.
And
We
this one
printed
is
it off
from,
at your website.
Okay, they printed it
So
off.
I
Our-
see-
That one
That's
Our
on
web-
the current website, because the one on the current on the website is dated April of 23.
When was that signed?
That wasn't until April, and then I think, because when I was trained,
So
it
we
was outdated.
printed it off in March,
Gotcha.
so.
We
so
went,
it has been updated.
Right.
we went through it and it
Okay.
checks all the boxes of everything that's on
Yeah,
the
no, I'm not
existing
worried
one,
about
so.
that. I'm just saying if we could have. it updated
Yeah, they're,
For the
Yeah.
right contacts.
Now we've asked into it and it is updated on the
Okay.
website.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Okay. Haunted attraction.
Thank you.
So.
Taken care
Unfortunately,
of.
I got one from
Now you got-
the
Got one.
That's what I'm saying.
We've been working.
That's what I'm asking.
Depends whether or not they refresh their,
What?
That one's
I would
Which
assume
goes on
what
the
was the
internet,
price on
stays
that
up there
one, Steve?
forever.
pardon?
$14,689.28. So yeah, that's gonna be the full money.
Yes.
Okay, discuss action related to property at 1507 6th Ave. All right, Steve, refresh my memory on what we're doing. Thought we want a court case on this.
Um,
one where the ruling came back, all this.
I guess, I don't think this is one that anybody's gonna be able to rehab, like a developer. I think this one's gonna have to come down.
But the way the ruling came out, we can only.
Do
rehab
clean up
only
to
clean up
$6,500.
$6,500.
Yeah. So we can go in to the property and do some work and assess it to the property taxes or however, bill the property. I'm not exactly sure how far down the line it is until like a 657A type thing can happen. It's been vacant for more than 6 months, so that's something we could pursue also, correct?
Yes. Do we have to do $6,500 worth of something before we do that?
No.
I think what the council wants to do is take it to court and get the property.
Okay.
$6,500 down there is a waste of money.
I think it would just be money that we would have to expend and
Well, we
labor
spend it,
and,
we put it against the tax base, and then we're trying to sell the lot.
right.
That's gonna
Uh,
get people to back off wanting to buy the lot.
One of the things that Sandy and I had discussed was what that looks like to the court if we don't abate what we're allowed to, or,
Basically, where we're at with this one then is, we did a small claim in regards to the dangerous building. The court is ready to enter an order that says we can abate it up to 6,500. We don't have to do that. And if I remember right, this is one where the order came down and said they had 90 days to abate it. And then after that, the city could step in and do it. And so when I talked to Gage earlier today, he says kind of what his thought was, is if it's gonna cost us more than $6,500 to take it down, wait till the end of the 90 days, file the 657A and get the title in our name, and then we can take it down and we can sell it.
yeah.
Because otherwise, we could still try and go after them for the judgment for the 6,500. Because we know it's gonna cost more than that. If we have an estimate for what it's gonna cost to take it down, and they would enter judgment against Mr. Carlson for the 6,500. But then we would still have to take that next step to get the property titled in the city name.
The property is a lot tighter than, our other demolition project. So it's gonna potentially take a little bit longer and need a little more TLC because it's close to the other properties. I don't have any reservations that we're not going to be able to do it, but it might take longer than, how long did it take for that other house, Jay? I mean, to get it on the ground, and it was not long.
4 hours.
Yeah. So this one's just gonna be a little bit more complicated than,
So is Mr. Carlson not agreed to sign? Is he fighting, or is he not agreeing to just sign over
He
the
hasn't done anything.
property?
Has not done anything.
Has he responded to any of the?
The court entered a default judgment against him because he failed to do anything.
when the last time I spoke with him, he's told me some very disturbing things and then hung up on me. And then I tried to call him back because I was concerned for his well-being, and he didn't answer, and he hasn't answered since.
So this date up here, this e-file date, is that when the clock starts?
Yes.
And then we want to go 90 days.
Well, the court order, I believe, says they have 90 days to abate the nuisance, and then the city can go from there. So that makes me June 20.
Can you give them a motion to set out the 90 days and then go after the property?
I'll make a motion to go out the 90 days and
The 657.
the 657A.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
And moved and seconded. Can't imagine the inside of that place.
It's not good.
You may have to send guys in space suits or go in and clean some of that crap out before he starts tearing it down.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'll do it from now.
Did you want to? I just thought I'd offer.
State rep,
Absolutely.
state of Iowa just authorized kids to work longer, more hours. Maybe we can hire kids to work 6 hours to go in there. I mean, I just know what former resident was using for bathroom. None of that stuff's been cleaned out. All right, did I get a second on this motion? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Keep track of that time and get either Jennifer or Gage.
I'm setting the task right now for Gage. I'll be taken care of.
Good
Put it on my
delegation.
daytime.
Okay, discuss for possible approval of a new Class B retailed alcohol license with Sunday sales for Family Dollar at 509 13th Street, Belle Plaine. That's why the form looks the way the form looks, because this is a whole new liquor license.
That's what we need.
Largest alcohol selling city in Benton County.
We tried.
Yours generates sales tax.
Those were bars. We've expanded into retail sales. I need a motion to approve this one.
I make a motion to approve a new Class B retail alcohol license with Sunday sales for Family Dollar.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
When is this supposed to open? Do we know?
Christmas.
Christmas?
I have no idea.
You know that's gonna be.
I can't keep track of all of them.
I don't have an updated timeline. There were a couple of critical things that needed to happen with utilities going into it, and I believe that's completed.
That's complete now, isn't it?
That was one of the biggest challenges, I think, and it's into the building.
It's
So,
all underground, isn't it?
correct.
Yeah.
I don't know what they need to do in the building yet.
Well, don't they have to get current occupant moved over to the new building?
Yeah,
so
there's-
that they can
there's-
do
there
the
are-
Interior work.
There's a few moving parts.
Don't sit in the parking lot waiting for.
I won't. I won't. Just curious.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Discuss for possible approval of the setting of a public hearing for Wednesday, May 17th, 2023 at 6:30 PM in council chambers, Belle Plaine City Hall, to consider the rezoning of the lots 8 and 9 Blossoms 3rd Edition from M2 to M1 per planning and zoning board's recommendation. You want to explain anything to that on that one, Steve?
I think this is pretty straightforward too. It's essentially turning that into a blue one and the to M1. And a lot of that has to do with offsets and things like that for, the street, and
Where is that?
it's right here. This is the curve on 11th Street.
Just
and
north of
First
the
Avenue.
haunted house.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
north of, so right now it's a open lot.
Oh, okay.
And the requester wants to build a structure there, and
Okay.
part of it would be on an R2 lot. And the setbacks for M2 wouldn't allow for the building setbacks that they're looking for, so they want to switch it to M1.
So it's a manufacturing.
It's going to be a workshop, to my understanding.
Construction.
Other questions? If not, looking for a motion to set the public hearing for this.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for Wednesday, May 17th, 2023 for rezoning lots 8 and 9 from M1 and M2, or excuse me, from M2 to M1 per planning and zoning recommendations.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I have the letters ready to go out. We have to notify everyone within 200 feet of the property. I'll stick that in the mail tomorrow. And we have
Probably
notice ready
should
to go.
have the property owner here on the 17th.
He knows
to
to
speak.
come. He plans to come.
Okay. Move to item 17, consideration of a motion approving the Belle Plaine Ragbri Committee's request to close 12th Street between 7th and 9th Avenues and those corresponding side streets off 12th Street on July 28th from 5 a.m. to approximately 3:30 p.m. for the Ragbri Routed Festival festivities of that day. Questions?
I would like to add to it. So past 9th, it'd be like where the library and the museum is, if we can take half that block, so by the caboose. So we can incorporate that as well
Thank you.
into the closure.
Because I was gonna say, it'd really be bad if the museum was blocked off because we plan to be open during that.
Yes.
So that's a very nice consideration. I thank you very much for that.
Add that half block to this motion. So the route has it in on Highway 21, going down 13th Street to 9th Avenue, going down 9th Avenue to Main Street, going backwards down Main Street, then back out onto 21 and pedaling for all the worth to Marengo for lunch. And if we keep here long enough drinking beer, then we'll be.
And they won't have a dime to spend in Marengo.
You can always take the Sagway.
Any other questions? Mary will be in charge from the mayor's office at that point in time. I'm scheduled to be recovering from surgery on July 20th. Just thought I'd let you know here, you can take the hand.
I think Mary Helen will be somewhere else.
I may need help.
Okay, let's have a motion approving this.
I move to approve Belle Plaine Ragbri Committee's request to close 12th Street between 7th and 9th Avenue and those corresponding side streets off of 12th Street and as amended on, added on July 28th from 5 a.m. to approximately 3:30 p.m. for the Ragbri route. That's what I meant, as included there.
As Ashley wants.
Yeah.
Sandy will figure that out.
You get
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's go to committee of the whole. Let's discuss the water project. We had a staff meeting the other day discussing this. With the entire staff here trying to figure out what was the best way to proceed. And I brought my notes. That's easy, Cog. I didn't bring my notes. Let's see, bring my notes. All right, what did we decide the other day was the first move we need to make? Somebody refresh, we didn't believe it was a test well. Isn't that what we discussed?
Would one of you guys like to start off?
We were just under the impression that there was test wells drilled in the surrounding same area. and this is coming from Al, and that those test wells came back as not having good quality water. So, we were afraid that the mistake was gonna be made to repeat history. So we wanted to come together as a group to talk about what the next, I guess, phase should be and what we need to really focus on. But I just presented the fact that we've been testing for nitrates. We have to pull nitrate samples out of the well field. What nitrates is just runoff from fertilizers placed on fields. And the DNR required us to pull one test, and that's with 3 wells running. And we were kind of in the midway of anywhere from 4 to 8 milligrams a liter, and the DNR requires treatment at 10 milligrams a liter. Well, they changed our permit, and now we actually have to pull samples off of our individual wells. And by pulling off our individual wells, back in September 29th, 2022, well 1 was 6.2 milligrams a liter, well 4 was 6.5 milligrams a liter. December 13th, 2022, well 1 was 7.3 milligrams a liter, and well 4 was 8.4 milligrams a liter. So we're really straddling that number. And what we're afraid of, if we drill a test well out there, that we would be put over our nitrate level, and that would be required to treat that water. And by doing so, more than likely it would be a reverse osmosis system, and it would cost thousands of dollars. That's just off chemicals alone. Because basically in reverse osmosis, you strip out everything out of the water, and then you have to mix it in with raw water to make it safe to consume. So we were looking at the fact that we have a deep well, which is well 6. We have as much water as we need coming from that source. Back in the 80s, they were talking about having a treatment facility, and at that time they were talking about filtration. And we just kind of want to look at some ideas and discuss on what we can do to make well 6 treatable in a way that's going to save the citizens money, keep their utility bills low. We ran a test filtration system, which is a dual earth media filtration system. And
Write that down, there'll be a test on this dual earth media.
So the biggest complaint is the aesthetics of the water quality. The water, it turns whites, dingy color, and everything else. Well, with that test filter that we ran, Steve, is your office unlocked?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can I go grab the samples and I can show you?
I knew we should have left.
Yeah, but we were afraid somebody might drink them.
No, we had them in here the other day.
I know.
So do we have like paperwork from when these test drills were supposedly, so this is all going on?
Between the time that we were talking about test wells and other things, I was able to apply for a grant that could potentially pay for a study out there because that was taken from a wetland area to industrial, agricultural, and tiled out and everything. Jay's found at least one of the tiles, cut it off. That's helped the well field out. But the waterway going through that used to go through there was diverted. So that makes us eligible for a wetland grant. And in that grant, if we're awarded that, the test well could the core drill could be paid for out of that.
No, my question was, we're thinking that we had test drills done in the past, but yet we're going by someone's memory instead of actually
I'm
having.
sorry, I was
Having
gonna,
actually written confirmation that that's
typically when
true.
a well drilling company drills a test well, they would make notes of every soil type and what the structure and media is all the way down to the bottom when they hit water, whether they hit water, those types of things. And that would be then logged with the state and, you know, the USGS and other agencies, because it's really important information. And if we paid for that, you know, there's no knowledge. I have no knowledge of that. And it wasn't,
There were no
I don't
records.
have any records of that. And when we had the water study done, there were no records of that at the state. So
Dave Heron still's in town. Wasn't he in charge of water back then? At one point?
Yeah.
He might remember too.
So I guess with the test well thing isn't part of the conversation right now, because
Okay.
it can have its own funding source potentially as part of the wetland study if we get that grant. So, sorry, Nick, go ahead. You have the floor.
So these are pulled back in October, the October 12th. This is raw water that's coming out of well 6, and then that's the filtered water. Now, the reason why well 6 is something that we want to focus on is because it has no nitrates. So we can blend it with the rest of the wells to bring our nitrate levels really low. Now, well 6 is hard water, but we can also blend it with the well field in order to bring that hardness down. Now, also well 6 is high in fluoride. We need the well field to blend that down to lower fluoride levels as well. It's just that right now we're focusing on lowering the pumpage rate. And just give you an idea, last April, we pumped close to 9 million gallons that month. This April, we pumped 7 million gallons. So we saved 2 million gallons just by looking for leaks. So as long as we keep lowering those pumpage rates, we'll be in a good situation. It's just that when we do have main breaks and a fire, we kind of limit our ability to have that backup water. So this is what we were kind of hoping that with well 6, we can focus on some type of an affordable treatment to have just as, I guess, a safe haven in case anything does go bad. We don't have to worry about drought conditions with well 6. Steve, you want to say anything about that?
So I did a little bit of legwork to talk about where this would be located, the treatment plant. And there were some ideas kicked around by the group, and they were really good ideas. I researched all the ones that we had discussed, and if we were to put the treatment facility on the well 6 site, we would need to expand the footprint of that property because it's very small. The current property owner that owns property on 2 sides of that, which is where we would need to expand, has said that he would sell the city X amount of land. I'm just not certain that's enough to fit the size of a facility that we need there. So the group discussed other options, and I contacted both of those property owners, and one of them was not interested in selling and the other one had some interest in selling. So we have hopefully 2 options, but they're going to take some negotiation and property acquisition.
What land did we just acquire in that area that we purchased?
West side.
That's west side.
21st,
Okay.
wasn't it?
Yeah, you acquired the well fields.
Yeah, where 1 through 5 are.
More than that.
One of the reasons that the nitrates have crept up over the years is because the farmers in the direct vicinity of the well field have, I believe, have changed some of their tactics or their strategies on how they farm. Years ago, we had what's called a source water protection plan, and so some of the farmers in the area aren't living by those principles, and so there could be some outreach and education and see if they'd be willing to do that, and if there's any incentivization for them to do that.
So the water report that we had done, we were given like 5 proposals. Is one of these proposals in that one of those 5?
Not exactly the way we're talking about. So because of the property, you know, where is this thing going to reside?
Right,
Or
but
is it
they
gonna
were,
be-
as I remember, they had either drilling a new well, going really deep, or using well 6, I think, as I remember. I don't have that in front of me.
Yep.
So really that option of using well 6 is one of the options you're looking at. Whether or not how we build or what kind of reverse osmosis or whatever kind of filtering system, that's what you're proposing.
So they had, yeah, they had proposed a reverse osmosis skid, which is not what Nick is
Right.
proposing or
Right.
what I'm supporting. I'm not supporting that level of treatment. And Nick and the rest of the Public Works crew is in agreement with that.
So the guy that we brought down from Milwaukee that built this filter type system, is that kind of what you're looking at?
It would be that plus potentially like another softening element to it.
Okay.
So that would reduce the calcium carbonate in the water potentially. So it could be a scalable project. So if we needed to do A, B, C phases, or we wanted to do one big leap and do a big project,
Well,
or
I think
phase it
that's the
out.
most logical thing, because like you said, well 6, we know there's water and a lot of it. And it's like, okay, how do we make that drinkable and usable for the city? I think that by far is the long term, because the status quo, if we have a drought, our shallow wells, we're gonna use well 6 whether we like it or not. Because if our shallow wells dry up, we don't have a choice.
Yeah,
So
with
you
the
might
way
as well
the,
look at how do we use well 6 and how do we implement that, whether or not it's blending. And then in an emergency situation, then we have a way of at least filtering and using it. But I don't see any way around it.
yeah, and since the waterway was diverted that went into the well field, that was our major source of recharge, has been like that since 2009. That has not replenished the water in the water table there. So it would soak into the ground and filtrate and everything like that. So that would be a separate
How deep?
project.
Is that like 200 feet deep or not quite?
I think it's like 300.
300?
feet.
Yeah.
It's in the Pleistocene aquifer.
Yeah.
So,
We are doing some things there to return it.
So we're just kind of pivoting a little bit because we have this funding source potentially now to do some things out at the well field to restore that, which would in turn, you know, it's just kind of a separate thing. So since we have 2 different well sites and the water quality is completely different at both locate, I'm just saying well field is 4 wells and well 6 is another one, but the water quality is so different between the 2. It would be difficult to build one treatment plant to handle everything that we do. So they kind of need to be handled separately.
Right.
There's no sewer at the well field. So, you know, to put a treatment plant out there is not cost effective right now. So all the areas that we had discussed in the meeting for the well 6 treatment site are all within close proximity to existing city utilities, water and sewer, which we would need to have, you know, fresh water coming in, and then have the sanitary sewer hookup for all of the processed the byproduct of the filtration processes.
Yeah, but what I meant was just that, like you mentioned, that Jay found a tile and blocked it off. We're continuing to do things on our own to improve the existing well field, correct? Or
Yes, so right now we're kind of in a holding pattern on that until we hear back from this
based
grant.
on the grant, okay.
So it was programmed a certain way, and
Is that a big enough difference to make a difference? Big enough area to make a difference? I mean, are you gonna gain?
well,
by-
I don't want to take away from what Nick's talking about, so right now, I think we should just look at them as two separate things.
Okay.
The group decided that the filtration plant was the way to go right now, and the well field is status quo for right now. And if we, go ahead.
Well, like Nick was saying, if we can keep our flows down and,
That's an impressive number, 2 million gallons.
So we used to pump 300,000, 350, 400,000. And so when Jay and I kind of got together as a team, we went out and we looked at manholes. We looked everywhere just for leaks. Some of these water mains were leaking for years. So we made our priority to tackle that issue. And by saving on the pumpage rates, you save on utility rates as well. I mean, it doesn't cost that much money to treat, per gallon of water anymore. So as long as we're lowering that pumpage rate, we buy some time with the well field. The only thing that we're concerned of is with that well field, the DNR is regulating these nitrates. So if we are drawing from the same source that we are already creeping up on the higher side of the nitrates, it's a really high risk. And, if we spend a lot of money in that well field and then the DNR comes out and says, hey, you guys have to build a treatment facility out in the well field now. Well, that doesn't really consider, in drought conditions, we could still face a drought. We could still use well 6. So I think that, there's multiple avenues to approach this situation. And I think that over the years, the well 6 has been repeated over and over again. And I think we're just going to keep repeating it over and over again if we don't start with some type of like a stage 1 treatment. Let's just start with a filtration system first. It could be very small. We could just treat 100,000 gallons a day of well 6 and blend it with the rest of the well field. Right now we're averaging 240,000 gallons, 240,000 gallons per day. If we're able to treat 100,000 gallons of well 6 water, then yeah, we're only drawing a little bit of water from the well field. So, and then, so like I said, there's
How do we attack the hardness of that?
Well, the hardness, the DNR or the EPA doesn't really regulate the hardness right now. So
No,
that would
I'm
be,
talking about our citizens.
yeah, so that would be on, our end to where we can say, well, do we supplement people to get a softener system, or do we just pay for a softener to treat well 6 water? So those are different options that we have to look at too. What is the most cost effective, and what does the citizens of Belle Plaine want? I'm not quite sure. Me personally, I have a water softener in my house. I treat my own water, but I can't really say anything more about the residents. I know that we only charge $7 and something cents per 1,000 gallons. If we do a softener system at well 6, what's our cost going to be per 1,000 gallons then? Is it going to jump up to 12 to 15 to 20? And then that's something that the public's going to see, and they'll have their say in that. But to me, I just want water to come to my house, and I will treat it how I see fit. But
Well 6 has been our savior for a long time. So,
and really, there's nothing regulating well 6 besides the fluoride. And that's why the well field is so vital to us, so that we can blend it down to lower levels of fluoride. So we used to actually put fluoride in our water. We don't do that anymore.
What do you reach out to as far as figuring out what kind of filtration system that's needed, and start getting a ballpark idea on costs. Because that's obviously grant money, and then do we have to borrow to get it? You know, what's, I mean,
We
there's,
do still have all that ARPA money.
So
For some water related projects.
the council could decide to go along with what Veenstra and Kim's water study findings were, which, or seek other options that would be more in alignment with what the city's objectives are.
I mean, it's why we hired them, is to find us the solution. And if we kind of like.
Actually, we hired him because the Department of Agriculture
Right.
said, you're not eligible for any grants if you don't have a water study.
But we picked that group, and they're the ones that gave us the study.
Well,
so.
there's a sidebar to that too. That's who our city administrator directed us to hire. I've not been satisfied with them since the first month that they've been on the job. Why did it take 5 years to produce this document?
I think he was talking before you, right?
Yes.
Just teasing.
I was part of it too, so, you know, it did take a long
I
time.
mean,
Wow.
is the first step utilizing our filter guy, is the first step finding an engineer we trust to sit down and lead us through this.
So it's I don't know, I know this is a committee of the whole, and, you know, talk about options. I know the council's not very pleased with the way Veenstra and Kim handled the water study, and I don't know what happened before I got here, but I know all the things that we had to do after I got here, and the data collection and the fine tuning and polishing of that took some time. They have been very helpful with other projects that we've been working on, like the FEMA thing, which I'll talk about later. So
Now, I don't think we can kick the can down the road anymore. I think
That's
that
not what I'm
we
suggesting.
have to get something moving. So if we have to hire an engineer, if we have to go find someone to find us a filtration system.
would you guys like to meet some engineers in proposal, or just some ideas, or?
If you think that that's gonna help us make a decision, sure. Because, you know, I think we've got to move on this. I think.
So we get to a point where, I didn't mean to interrupt you, we can do a lot of research and fact finding, and then we get to the point where we're like, all right, we really need to have an engineer from a lot of different perspectives.
Right.
And we're approaching that. We've done a lot of homework, Nick and Jay, the whole crew in different aspects. So,
You know, there's a patent out there waiting for you guys.
Maybe.
I will say, as regarding the hardness of to expound on the difference between the two. The well field produces water that's about 23 grains per gallon hard, and well 6 produces water that's about 150 grains per gallon hard. So a lot of residents, or some, you know, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say a lot. We do have some people that say, "Oh, my water's too hard," when we're running regular well. So, but we do know that the rust and the iron and manganese will have removal with that filtration strategy. Then we could pursue the other one like we've talked.
I think
But it
if
should
we're
probably all be
both of them
indoors.
At the same time, I don't think there's any sense waiting. We know the public does not like the hardness of that water. The mineral deposit it leaves on various items in your house. If you have glass sliding doors on your shower. So why build in two sections? We've got contacted the filter guy.
Yeah, I guess I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that is an option. I think that what we need is to have an engineer tell us what, you know, work with the crew and come up with the solutions that are in alignment with what the city's objectives are.
So how do we pick an engineer?
We could have some come in. We could have Veenstra and Kim come back in. We could have any number of, we've had a couple of recommendations from other contractors that we work with. So we could have a,
Have any other cities gone through or built? I mean, have you reached out to any other towns that have had to go through and build some kind of filtration system?
yeah,
See what others have.
yeah.
Someone
So
else is,
one of
someone else in
the,
Iowa has to have the same problem that we're having.
Yeah.
It's common.
right. So we had a firm recommended to us by our well drilling company who I've talked with, and Nick and Jay have both met now, correct? Nate. So we could do a little bit more homework and provide, I don't know how many the council would like to interview. But one of the ones we talked to helped Monticello out with a lot of their problem, Manchester. They're not, they're not in the same geological formation, but they're, they have a lot of similar water quality issues.
The city of Newhall actually has a filtration system that I think would be ideal for well 6. I have experience with the city of Newhall. It's a great system. I'm sure that we can kind of get some information from them, see what their water quality parameters are. I know they're higher in ammonia than we are, but they don't have the shallow wells like we do. I mean, we have an incredible asset that we can use to really make this community very sustainable. And so if you guys have any questions, yeah, I'd probably just go talk to the city of Newhall and look at their treatment facility. And I would consider something similar just for the filtration wise.
One thing that I forgot to ask you the other day, Nick, is Newhall's all in one complex in a building, or is it outdoors? I have not seen their plant.
Yeah, it's just a small little building, and plus they have a clear well. With this clear well, whatever they treat, they put in this clear well, and they slowly feed in their system with booster pumps. They also have a water tower. So if we had that similar setup, we could have 2 basically clear wells. So, because I know with our current standpipe, it needs to be painted, needs a lot of work, and right now we can't just shut it down to do all that work. So
Can you describe what a clear well is to the council?
Clear well is just to store clean water. Is basic.
Water tower.
Yeah, it's like a water tower. Yeah, there's different terms. A water tower has a certain elevation. Clear well, it's just it's called a standpipe. That's what we have. It's just a standpipe. We have 750,000 gallons. We don't really elevate it so much as most towns who have larger water towers because they need the pressure. Or we have more than enough pressure in some places here in Belle Plaine. But if we were able to have two water storage tanks, we could be pretty redundant with our operation. So.
Do you think maybe we could, and this is up to everybody else, but just thinking here that they would allow us to maybe go look at their, up in Newhall, look at their system?
Actually, I know quite a few people in Newhall, city council members. The old public works guy, he's on city council now. Mr. Clays, who works public works, yeah, I think that we could really schedule a time to walk through, and it looks like Jennifer knows quite a few people from Newhall too, and yeah, just a look. I mean, it's a very small building, but it does its job. It's a pretty neat little setup, and that's kind of what I envision for well 6 anyways.
What size of, how big is the building?
Oh, it's like a small little garage, don't you think? Jennifer, have you ever drove by it?
It's like
I probably
16
haven't,
by
not really.
40.
16 by 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hauled the sludge out when they redid that.
Okay.
HR Green was their engineer.
Okay.
We ain't hiring them.
So ours would be probably a little bit bigger potentially, but
So it sounds like kind of what the steps need to be is you guys need to go look at that one. And then you need to kind of figure out what we need to treat for it, and then probably do an RFP to the engineering companies that we've heard good things about and would want to work with, and send out the RFP to them for them to design the system.
need to come back with some type of proposal at the next council meeting. General outline of how we should proceed. I think you heard your council, you've heard your water guys talk. We can let one project go one way, but some way, shape, or form, we have to get well 6 prepared, because we have no idea what we're facing this summer. We'd be sitting here in July putting water restrictions on again.
Well, April wasn't very prolific with water,
No, it wasn't.
a little over an inch a whole month.
But we're sitting okay right now, aren't we?
With the, what was the dynamic level on 4?
Well, dynamic is, right at 6 feet, so which we do have a buffer zone. I feel really comfortable running it. Do I feel comfortable flushing hydrants? No. Just in case there are main breaks that come along with it. But yeah, I think with the casing, we're at 125 inches right now in the casing. When we turned on well 6, we were all the way, oh shoot, I can't remember.
Wells,
When I started working, we were at 175.
Yeah, it was almost 200 inches, and that's the water level below the casings what we measure.
so the well field are shallow wells, so if the water table goes down, there's not as much of a, and the formation kind of is shaped like this, so once it gets down to the bottom, it goes quicker than it does, correct? I mean, it depletes quicker.
So then we run the risk of getting air in our lines, water main breaks. So that's why right now I like the level. I feel comfortable with our low pumpage rates. But who knows if we're in a drought situation? Yeah, we can introduce air into our lines and we could be fixing water mains every week. So.
And there was a, research done. We found some problems at the well fields where air was being introduced into the pipes, which causes water main breaks too. So some of those things have been fixed. I think that since well 5's been taken offline, that the water quality has improved because the iron levels have gone down. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, well 5 is horrible on iron. It was really doing water.
Well, start working on a proposal that the council can look at.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys
So that
for
we can move it off.
due diligence and looking for leaks.
Yeah, so if you see any standing water, just call. We'll investigate anything. So.
Thank you to Nick for bringing to our attention that this nitrate situation was something we should look at before we dug the test well. And keep the guy from Milwaukee on the emergency line. That's probably who you're gonna go to for a filter.
He checks in periodically to see how we're doing in general, so.
And then we need to make a decision. We need an RFP sent out on engineering. And when I say HR Green's not in the ballpark, all you have to do is go back and look at how HR Green was treating the landfill when we took over the landfill as a landfill commission. If you want update on that, I stop by, I'll tell you how much they were fleecing the county for. Anything else on committee of the whole on this water issue? City administrators report.
All right. The house on the corner of 10th Avenue and 15th Street that Rusty Wright is redoing. He is ready, he believes, to have a final inspection done. And he would like to have that done as soon as we're able to schedule Mike in. And Mike is going to try to work him in yet this week or first part of next week.
Do you have anything else that Mike to do while he's here?
Wow.
I'm gonna have to circle back with the,
The question on that is, why should the city foot the whole bill on that inspection so he can get that house? At best, that ought to be a 50-50 split on the cost of the inspection. He ought to have to pay for part of it.
that was one of the things I was gonna get guidance from the council on tonight. Is that I have not had a chance to circle back with the chief to see if he's prepared to have anything else or if there's any others that are ready to be inspected.
Judy, didn't you and I have a conversation about that sometime during tax season? About the city paying the cost for the second inspection?
Yes, I think we did. We did.
I mean, what's the council's thought on that? Should the city be footing the bill on that final inspection, or should the property owner have to pay part of it or pay all of it?
I think the property owner should pay and show the city that it's up to snuff, and the problems that we're seeing in previous inspections, which the city did pay for, have been taken care of.
Other council members? I totally agree with you. I don't see where the taxpayers should have to continue to foot that full bill. We foot the bill on the original inspection to start with, and I think we learned, how many inspections did we spend over on 6th Avenue property?
3, I believe.
3.
3. They did coincide with other inspections that were taking place, so there was, yeah, they weren't one-offs. So when Mike has to come out, there's trip charges, one-way trip, and then the hourly rate. So if we have other properties for him to inspect while he's here, there's a savings to us.
So what is a typical charge for more than one inspection? I'm sorry, for him to come out and inspect more than one property, what is a typical charge per property?
It's an hourly rate, so it depends on how big it is, how complicated it is, if he can even walk in it or not. So, it's like 500, I think. Or if he had to come out for one, I'd say it's probably under 500.
Okay, so by the time it's been inspected multiple times.
I'm sorry, 500 would probably be if he had to come out for one house only. So if he had to do one house while he was here, it would probably be between $100 and $200. If he were doing.
I think it's more costly than that. I think when he was out here doing a solo house, we were getting billed for $500.
That's what I just said.
First inspection.
He said,
If there were 3 in a row, if he did, the one on 6th Avenue, then the one across the street, he wouldn't
Yeah,
charge
but
another trip charge.
I'm certain if we go back and look, that he came out and did one house for $500. Get
Yes.
a better deal with 3. All right, right now we're talking about one that only has one house to be done.
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be $500 to $600.
I pulled the invoice that he sent us in February. Travel time of 1 hour at $150 per hour. And they did inspections and reports, 5 hours at $150 an hour. And he gave us 3 reports at that time. And it was a total of $900 for the bill.
That's not the last one he did. He did one out here with one inspection.
This is just the one that pulled up in my email when I typed in his last name. And this was in February, and he did three properties at that time.
So if it's 900, just $300
About $300 a property is what it is
per time.
for this one.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
And if you would only come out to do one.
I would
you'd
say
have
it's probably
$150.
5.
I'm thinking it's about $500 for
Single
Yeah.
property, I know. So why should the Belle Plaine taxpayers foot the bill? Like, we foot the bill on it on the original inspection. So do you want to tell the 10th Avenue property that it's going to be 50-50 split on the inspection?
No.
No, he pays it.
He pays the whole thing.
That's what I have in my notes for my directive. I thought that was the consensus, so I'll reach out to him
Did say
and
that at one point, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
let's get a motion on it so it's on the record. Yeah, do it right now because he's wanting that property inspected in the next week, 2 weeks.
Not an agenda item.
I can just take it as a directive. If everybody's in agreement with me letting the property owner know that's gonna be their expense. And then I can ask Mike for a rough ballpark and, I just don't know if we can have a motion.
Well, we could probably put a resolution on the next council agenda that says this is how we're gonna handle these
Yes,
fees
we
going
need
forward.
that to be done.
And this will apply to all
Because I
future
think-
incidents. Is what
I
you're
think I
saying?
had provided a letter to the chief about that when we sent those out that said, this is kind of the way we're gonna do it going forward. So I will look, but I will make a note of that.
So the consensus is right here tonight, because this one's gonna happen before you get back.
Yeah.
That we want to charge him for the full inspection.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Steve, continue.
All right, thank you. We had, Kate with Benton Development Group and I went to Des Moines on Monday and met with Iowa Economic Development Authority. We had some good conversations with them and, they had, asked us a couple questions about Main Street, Iowa that, cause it, take note of, and then bring that back to community development, with their consideration of leaving Main Street, Iowa. So, that wasn't the intention of the trip. That was just people from Main Street, Iowa were in the meeting and they recommended that we take a good hard look at whether the community is going to exit that program or not. So we had a meeting the next day and talked about that. So I'm not trying to be vague. There's just more research to be done. We had the FEMA hearing on yesterday morning. It was supposed to be a half an hour. It ended up being an hour and a half. That was with the Civilian Court of Appeals. And that's our final step on the 2 counts that we basically took FEMA to federal court on, which is the roads project. And then also the bridge project, which is technically a culvert on 10th Avenue next to the previous bus barn. Veenstra and Kim were involved in that. Leon, who has been helping us with all of our FEMA consulting and working with the Iowa Homeland Security. Iowa Homeland Security was upset with FEMA as well because Homeland Security, I don't want to go back through all, FEMA came here, they inspected, and they said we had a viable claims, and we submitted those and followed the guidelines and everything. And Homeland Security is the one that kind of cradles those and takes those to FEMA. FEMA tried working directly with us. We kept trying to work through the liaison at the state. So there were some procedural power struggles there between the state and the federal government. The federal government was, we feel, not approaching it correctly. So that's why we decided to take this all the way. And the fact that we had an hour and a half of discussion rather than 30 minutes seemed promising. I can't say one way or another. There are 3 federal judges involved, and a FEMA attorney, and I don't want to say a whole lot, but at one point, I had asked why they wouldn't allow us to have the site inspector who came out originally involved in the conversation for the hearing. And the FEMA attorney said, paraphrasing, normally once the attorneys get involved, you don't talk to these people anymore. Because when I texted Mr. Romeo, who was the FEMA inspector, he said, I am not supposed to talk to you anymore. And I was like, So I found that odd. So when the FEMA attorney said that, I said I wasn't aware that we were going to have an attorney to talk to FEMA, which is what the mayor and I talked to Senator Grassley about, that we shouldn't have to have a team of attorneys and a team of engineers advocating for the community. That it should just be pretty simple because the state is supposed to be handling all of it, but that's not how my perception of how it got handled. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So those judges are going to deliberate on it, and the packets that everybody provided for discovery and the things that we added for our testimony during the hearing, and then make a ruling on it. But I don't know if that's going to be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think they're pretty busy, so I just can't say how long it's going to take for them to get back. But hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because we have a lot of things we want to start fixing. We are trying to come up with a contingency plan for the 10th Avenue culvert in the event that does not come through.
Because you've shut that off right now, right?
Yes, it sank about 4 inches in 1 month after. So I had, after the derecho, I've had every structure in town, anywhere there's a culvert, there's a bridge, there's different terminologies. And when they came out, they said this thing, the ground was frozen and it wasn't moving when the ground started thawing. It just, so
Is there any way we could, just even without this FEMA thing done, get that fixed and open? Or would we need some sort of violation with something?
we wouldn't repair it in the same, we wouldn't be able to repair it in the same way, because if we win the case with FEMA, then we would be doing it under those engineering guidelines that were proposed during that.
You get a complete fix instead of a repair, right?
It would be a different type of a
To
repair.
answer your question, we have to wait for FEMA. If we lose that, Jay has got a plan on how to fix that.
I didn't know if we could just.
So if we get word at the end of May that FEMA is rejecting that, then we will institute another plan with a little guidance from the county.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we had to wait this long. It's been frustrating for everybody. I've just been going at the speed of.
Don't bother me anymore.
Does anybody have any questions about the FEMA hearing? Some of these things are just going to roll through here pretty quickly. Joni Ernst is going to be in town tomorrow at the food pantry. Friday.
Tomorrow's not Friday.
Sorry,
tomorrow's
Friday.
Thursday.
I thought Iowa PBS is going to be at the Lincoln tomorrow at lunch, and they asked me to invite people to be there. It's part of the byways tourism promotional videos. So they asked me to help set up a few people for Iowa PBS to interview. So I talked to a few folks that I thought would be interesting for them to talk to. I wanted to clarify something from earlier on the rezoning thing. I misspoke about the R2. That was a confusion on my end. I thought that project included one parcel of R2, and it does not at all. It does not have any residential. Today, the Public Works completed the bus barn sprinkler tap in from 6th Avenue water main, which was a really good partnership with the school. And it looks great. And Andy Elin should be able to run that into the building tomorrow, hopefully get that completed. And then I wanted to tell the council that due to the way that we had to restructure Public Works, and my ability to be around to call shots for everybody all the time and follow up on them weren't 100% effective. It's something we tried, didn't work out the greatest. So Jay was selected to be promoted as the Public Works Manager. So he will be directing the Public Works staff on a day-to-day basis and talking with me. And I mean, we pretty much talk every day anyway, but me being here, I'm too far removed from the shop. And if I'm at the shop, I'm not here. And if I'm out and about on project, you know, I talked to the council before about, you know, me balancing how much I'm in City Hall and out on projects. And I want to try to find a good equilibrium so that I'm able to be out and about, but also have office hours. So that's something I'm still working towards being more consistent on. With the amount of things that pop up, it's hard for me to say I'll be in City Hall from 2 to 4 every day, because that wouldn't have been able to happen today. So anyway, I am very proud of the Public Works Department and what they've been able to accomplish. And I know that Jay has done an excellent job, and he will continue to do an excellent job. And I just wanted to present that to the council and say thank you to Jay and all the Public Works. It was a really good project to do that they got accomplished.
Good. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Only one meeting to really talk about in the mayor's report. That was the EasyCog meeting, general meeting. But one thing I will note, they have changed the revolving loan fund, which I've been complaining about for 8 years, because all these loans that they give out for their business loans are always going to the big cities. Find none of them in the small towns. And I've complained for 8 years about it. And Kate's on that committee now, and maybe she had an impact. But they finally noted that it's important to get some of these loans out in rural areas, that they have ignored the rural areas of the 9-county membership. And so now rural applicants get extra points in the loan process. The excuse always was, well, people who open businesses up in small towns already have all their financing in place, and they never need one of these kind of loans. And I'm going, that's just not true. You people don't have a clue who you're talking to or what you're talking about. So I'll have Kate meet with you, Ashley, but it's a good place when we have somebody who's looking to open a business and they need that $20,000 more. It's a good loan for them to see. They also lowered the minimum. They had it raised up so high that it really only fit big cities. And they finally realized their general concept of this loans was to create jobs. So I'm glad to see they finally went to keying in on some small towns, because if you look at the 9-county area, we've got a lot of small towns. And it seemed like it was Iowa City, Marion, and Cedar Rapids that got all the loans. So hopefully somebody here will be able to take advantage. By the way, the state legislature chopped funding to all the COGs. There are, I believe, 9 COGs, not just the East Central Iowa one that we belong to. The state's got 9 different ones, and state funding to that was cut considerably by this state legislature. Surprise. And other than that, that is the only meeting. Business development didn't have a meeting, and I already covered landfill at the last one. So with that being said, I will wrap up when the camera goes off what my current health status is. I guess just for the general public, when you keep hearing the rumors that the mayor has cancer, that's not true. No correspondence, no old business, resident comments. Anyone want to come out and comment tonight?
I have a question.
We got answers. May not
Well, I've
fit the
been hearing a
question.
lot on TV about PFOs in water. Do we test for that?
Oh, PFAS, yes, actually, we just tested it, and they can't even find a level detectable, so
Good.
it's, yeah.
That's good for me
this
to
is
know.
great.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Attaboy, Nick.
Way to be here, Nick, to cover
Good
that.
job, cousin.
Yeah.
Now you can sleep, Bonnie.
Tell her we'll have to look that up. Anyone else? All right, looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion for adjournment.
For a second,
I'll second it.
then moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. We're out at 8:26 PM.